Dear students, I am Dr. Garima Srivastava from Lal Bahadur Shastri College, Lucknow. Continuing with my topic, writing on CVs, we have discussed about two types of CVs, that is chronological CV and the functional CV. We have also discussed what a CV is and what it contains. That means a CV is a detailed document highlighting your professional and academic history. We have also talked about difference between resume and CV. What is a resume and a CV? We need to understand as a job seeker, we need to understand that a resume is a summary of my lifetime achievement or my educational qualification, while CV is a detailed summary of my course of life. So, when are these two things relevant? When resume has to be used, when CV has to be used while applying for the organization, we need to understand these things. Then comes the third kind of CV, that is a combined CV. We have already talked about a chronological CV, wherein the employment history, wherein the number of employers I have worked with is given in a reverse chronological order. We have talked about a functional CV, wherein the candidate focuses on his functional skill sets, focuses on his competencies rather than telling about the different employers he has worked with. So, now we have the third kind of CV, wherein we can give both kind of information in one go. It is also called as a chrono-functional CV, wherein I am also focusing on the types of employers I have worked with, wherein the candidate or the job seeker also focuses on the different kinds of skill sets. So, this kind of CV can be used in different places, applying for different kinds of jobs, but it becomes slightly longer than normal, because both kind of things, if we include much of the information like chronological information as well as the functional information, so chrono-functional information can be more lengthier. So, a combined CV follows both chronological and functional format, which makes the CV slightly longer than the normal. However, it does offer the best of both types of CV and is becoming more popular these days. Why? Because people are more focused on different types of skill sets. The people also try to tell the employer that yes, the person has worked with a number of companies, and the person also tries, the job seeker also tries to tell that with these number of jobs, with these number of employers, he has attained this particular types of skill sets. So, both will be very much advantageous to the job seeker. So, this kind of CV is more advantageous for any kind of job seeker. Now, if we talk about the advantages of a combined kind of CV, perfect format if you have a strong career progression with many achievements. Now, if you have a constant kind of career graph, suppose you have not do not have any kind of career gaps or educational gaps. So, over there this kind of CV is a best suitable CV, because you have been continuously into education, then you have been continuously into working with different kinds of organizations, where you are able to project career progression in your CV without any gaps, without any breaks, plus you are able to give a number of you are able to exhibit a number of strengths, exhibit a number of achievements in these particular organizations. So, this become an advantage for the combined CV. It also enables a job seeker to exhibit a number of strengths as well as the experience, the rich experience that he has gained through these many years of working with different kinds of employers. Now, there can of course be certain disadvantages of this combined CV also. The very first one is it is a very lengthy kind of CV. Of course, when we use both kind of formats in the same CV, that is the chronological CV plus your functional CV, if we are including both the kind of information in a detailed form, it will become more and more lengthy, and sometimes it becomes cumbersome for the employer to basically focus on the different skill sets, and maybe your CV gets rejected. Only certain jobs where a very high quality of experience is required, there this kind of CV will work. Not suitable for those with little experience or achievements. Now this kind of CV will not be suitable for say suppose a fresher or a person with a lesser number of experience or achievement, because though he will try to put in everything in a chronological manner also, and he will try to put everything in a functional manner also, but if the content is less, some things may be repeated or some irrelevant information may go into the hands of the employer. So this irrelevant information may create certain kind of negative impact on the employer. So this kind of CV is not good if you do not have a large experience. It is also not suitable for the people who have employment gaps. So if you have employment gaps, this is not suitable. So wherever gaps are there, suppose there are gaps in your career graph, there are gaps in your education. So chronological kind of CV should certainly not be used, because it will highlight some kind of gaps, inconsistency in your careers, which you may or may not be able to justify when you are called for the interview. So if you have gaps, it is suggested that you put forward the different skill sets that you have acquired during those gaps and while working with the other organization. So it becomes much justifiable if I present my skills during these gaps. Suppose I have been preparing for some kind of exams, or suppose I have been on deputation for some kind of courses. So if I am preparing, or I am on some course, I am going to do, I was running some course, or I was studying some course, of course some extra skill sets must have been acquired. So that is why these gaps may be made negligible by putting forward the different skill sets that have been acquired during these gaps. So now this is a kind of sample, you can say sample CV of a chrono functional CV. Name, address and email address has been given on top, and then career objective of the person. Then he has exhibited academic qualification, computer literacy, areas of strength, personal information, extracurricular activities, and if required you can give references also. So this can be a CV with chronological order as well as the functional CV, wherein we have focused on the areas of strengths. So what is a chrono-functional CV? Now it specifically focuses on a specific work experience. Now chrono-functional CV, we take up these kind of CVs to specifically find out people with specific work experience. So this will be important for those job seekers who are going to apply in the same industry, who are going to apply to an employer who is seeking for a work experience in the same specific kind of industry. So and now in this particular kind of CV, specific skills and talents will be exhibited by the person. It is mainly used by individuals who are freshly graduated from the school with uninterrupted work history and applying for specific jobs. Now there are some do's which are needed to be seen if we are going to prepare a CV or we are going to prepare a resume. So before preparing a resume or while preparing a resume, some points needed to be kept in mind. Contain your CV or resume with a reasonable length. That means, now length does not mean the number of pages that you require to exhibit your skills, exhibit your different educational background. Now we have already talked about what is a resume. Resume is a summary of whatever you have done educationally and whatever professionally you have done. Now giving it in a summarized form, giving it in a very small, simple, specific form will be a resume. So keep it short, keep it simple, keep it factual, and it should be true. So, so that there may be no questions in the eyes of the employer. Similarly, if we talk about the CV, CVs are the detailed form of a resume. Now, of course, if we go on detailing the CV, if we go on detailing the resume, CV may sometimes exceed the number of pages. Now, over there it is required that over the number of years, what are the things that that can be removed from your CV. Now, secondly, if we talk about CV should be true and factual. That means whatever information you are providing in a CV or a resume, it should be fact based and it should be true. Nothing, no wrong statement should be given in the CV, because sometimes reference check may be done, or sometimes the employer may ask you questions regarding certain facts that you have exhibited in your CV, and these facts have to be supported with some kind of documentation proof. So, if you do not have the documentation proof of the thing that you have exhibited, that cannot be called as factual. Like for example, if I say I have attended a seminar, say in the year 2008. So, for attending that seminar, I must have got some certain certificate. Now, this certificate is a documentation proof that I have attended that seminar in the year 2008. So, of course, likewise, if you are going to give any kind of information other than your educational background, professional background, there you need to write the information for which you are having documentation proof. Now, thirdly, if we talk about, enough personal details should be provided for potential employer to contact you easily. That means being very short, skipping some of the personal information is also not suggestible. So, whenever you are giving your personal information like address, your phone number, your mobile number, or your say LinkedIn IDs, they should be complete in itself, and you should continuously you should check them before applying for a job and before applying your particular application, so that they are true, they are correct, and you have not miswritten your email IDs, or you have not skipped some of the points of your address, or your address has been misprinted over there. So, this should be correctly given by the job seeker, so that the potential employer may contact you. Sometimes it happens that the potential employer is not able to contact you. Now, by continuously contacting you, if the employer fails, he stops contacting the person at all. So, this should not be done. So, whatever data you are giving as your address or your mobile numbers, you should be available on those mobile numbers, and those should be picked up at one go. Why? Because the employers expect that the numbers are true, and the person will be available on those numbers which are being given in the personal detail. Coming down to the fourth point, if we see, choose a format that highlights the skill, key competencies, key achievements and key attributes. Now, we have already talked about by different format, that is chronological format, we have talked about functional format, we have talked about chrono-functional format. Now, choosing a perfect format or choosing the best format will be on the choice of the job seeker itself. Now, job seeker will only decide which kind of CV, CV will best suit the application which will be expected by the employer. So, over here it is important that whenever you prepare your CV or your resume, whether in chronological order or in your functional order, your skills, key competencies and achievements should never be missed out, because these become the key aspects after a certain years of experience. Because when in early stages, when we are fresher, at that moment the course we have undergone, suppose graduation course, the percentage we have got in that graduation course, this is important as a fresher. But once we have started our job and years go by, say suppose 5 years or 6 years down the line, then at that moment those 5 years, the number of employers you have been working with, the skill sets you have been attaining becomes more important than what you have studied in your graduation. Though it is important at every aspect, but with the increase in time of your experience, what other things you have achieved are important. So, key skills are specifically seen by the employer when a certain number of experience years are added in the CV. Now, coming down to the fifth point, if we see, your employment background should begin with your current job and work onwards. That means whenever we talk about our experience, the latest one should come at the very first point and the oldest job should go at the lowest point. That means whenever, if you are telling about your experience, if you are telling about your different employers you have been working with, you have to tell them in a reverse chronological order. That means latestly you are working with a particular organization, and then you will be in a reverse order till you reach the oldest or your first job that you have started with. Then comes list all the relevant qualifications. Now of course, sometimes people gather much of the qualifications while they are in graduation, while they are in post graduation they start doing some kind of diploma courses. People also gather some other certification courses like 6 monthly courses. So it is required, it is important here to see that not all such courses should be listed in your CV. Now you should see what is the demand of the job, and you can skip all the irrelevant or qualifications that are not related to your job at all. So you should see that the relevant qualification is only given. Now relevant qualification will be other than your post graduation and graduation. That means 10th, 12th graduation information and post graduation information has to be given. Apart from this, if other courses like say suppose you have done a CCC course in computers, or you have done a web designing course, or you have done a French speaking course, all these are different other courses which a person does apart from his qualification, educational qualification. So if it is required, if you think that it will help you in getting screened, or it will help you in shortlisting, getting shortlisted in the next round of interviews, so you should include those kinds of qualification. Do not include negative and irrelevant information. Negative means do not include any kind of false information or any information which gives a negative feedback to the employer. Like you should not exhibit different career gaps, you should not exhibit different educational gaps in your CV. You should try to mold your CV in such a form that these gaps are not being exhibited in your CV. Include details of training or skills development events attended. Now training and skill development events should be included in your CV, because it gives you gives a positive impact in the minds of the employer, and the employer also understands faster that what are your skills, how adaptive learner you are, how far you will be able to adjust in the new organization, or how far you will be helpful in the organization itself. Use a very good quality of paper. Suppose this is applied only if you are going to apply offline. So in online mode you do not need any kind of paper, but if you are going to apply for offline mode, suppose you are going to apply for say suppose a job through a postal media. Now over there you should definitely use a good quality of paper. Of course when we talk about paper, it cannot be a register paper or it cannot be a copy paper. It should be a A4 size paper, wherein you need to get the printouts of your covering letter as well as your CV in a very professional manner, and this CV should be signed along with the date and place given in the lowest part of your paper. Now while submitting your resume, it must be accompanied with a covering letter to make the reader aware of what is being sent and how it can be beneficial to the reader. Sometimes people do not go through the CV at all, they just go through the covering letter and they shortlist, because sometimes what happens, a number of people have applied for the same kind of job. So when a number of people have applied, a number of applications reaches the employer. So it would be difficult for the employer to shortlist each and everyone just by reading the CV of each and every person. So for that purpose, sometimes the employer goes through the covering letter only and shortlist. So this covering letter is an important part of your CV. Now when covering letter is being added, you have to address the organization representing the job. You need to tell the job which job you are going to apply for, Then what are your specific qualifications that you think will be suitable for this particular kind of job, and then definitely you will be giving an obliged statement that you will be obliged if you will be offered the candidature for this particular kind of job. Now, last point, include references if needed. Now, if references are needed, then only include them, though certain kind of CVs are structured in such way that at least 2 references are needed at the end of the CV. Now, what are the references? References means the people who are not in blood relation of the candidate, and these people, if they are contacted, they should be able to tell about the candidate's authenticity, or they will be able to tell about the various things which the candidate has mentioned in the CV. So, only include the references if they are asked, otherwise you can skip the references and directly give, you can just give a statement that references, if they will be required, it will be given in the time of interview. Now, similarly, we should we know about the do's of the CV or the resume. We know what things should be put into the resume, what things should be put in the CV, what are the different heads. We should also be knowing about what are the don'ts in preparing the CV. This is an important part. Why? Because we include more things and we do not know that these are irrelevant, these are not supposed to be in the CV at all. So, the very first point, do not write CV or resume on your CV or resume. Never put a heading of CV or never put a heading of resume on your CV. It will directly depict that it is a CV or it is a resume. An objective that makes no sense is completely insane. Now, very first point we have already talked about an objective. An objective is a statement wherein the candidate gives his mission, his vision about himself, what he wants to be in down the line, suppose 1 year or 5 years, what kind of organization he wants to work with, and what kind of growth opportunity he is finding in that particular organization. So, all these 3 things will be inclusive in the objective statement. So, this objective statement should be very sensible, it should be very carefully made, and it should be very informative. So, while preparing this objective statement, the job seeker should be very careful that he includes all the information, and no insane kind of information should be included in that particular objective. Irrelevant job experience. Suppose you are going to apply for a job, say sales trainee, and you are giving an experience of, say you have been working as a receptionist in a particular institution. So, this is an irrelevant experience. So, you can skip this kind of experience while you are going to apply for a job of sales trainee. Now there will be a question, so without experience they won't be taking me. Over there you can skip the type of experience you have, but you can definitely exhibit the type of skills that you have acquired from that job. For example, the same example if we take up, if you are working at a reception desk at some institution, you must have been interacting with people, you must have been meeting people, which will be beneficial in the same sales trainee also, because sales people also meet people, they interact with people. So, this is an interpersonal skill that you have developed in your last job, though that job is not relevant with your current job opening. Then comes achievements that are not exactly achievements. Now, suppose you have written an achievement like I have been a team leader in my school days, or I have been a captain in my basketball team in my class 10. So, this cannot be called as an achievement in a CV or a resume. This is an extracurricular activity, this is an achievement in an extracurricular activity, and it should go in that head only. So, achievement should be such that they are an achievement, like some kind of recognition awards or some kind of appreciation letters you have got from your employer, or some kind of promotions or some kind of holidays you have got as an award or as a prize from your employer. This can be your achievement. Then a physical description. Physical description is never given in a CV or a resume. Physical description is always given in a biodata, which cannot be given for a application for the job. Then proper hobby listing. Now, hobby listing is a very important aspect, and it is because it becomes important for you when you are listing your hobby. Now, is it necessary to list your hobby in your CV or resume? This is the very first point. Though if you are still listing your hobby, you should be clear that what kind of hobbies you are listing. Suppose you are listing your hobby as reading books, and the employer asks you what kind of books do you read. Now, if you do not have an answer to this particular question, so of course the data will go wrong, because you have said that you like reading and you do not know any kind of books. So, listing of hobby should be done in such a manner, though it is not necessary to list a hobby at all, but if still you list a hobby, then you should do your homework before listing your hobby, so that if you are listing, suppose you are listing gardening, or you are listing cooking, listening music, any kind of hobbies, so you should be aware of certain information about this particular hobby of yours. Private information. Then other private information means only certain information are required, which are detailed in the personal information, like your father, mother's name, marital status, the languages you spoke, the date of birth, and no other information, private information should be listed in your CV or resume. Now, bad grammar. Now, of course, this is a very important point. When we make sentences, when we specifically apply point out different experience sets or educational sets in different statements, they should be of proper grammar. Now, grammar should be checked, while grammar of your covering letter as well as your CV or the resume should be checked out. Then contact information, that will raise flags. Contact information, if your contact information is such that the person is not able to understand it, then it will also not help the employer. Then other kind of numbers like social security number, national insurance number should not be used in the CV or resume. Colorful text, creative font should not be used. Do not use tables to give your information. This is not a kind of format that should be used in the CV. So, these were the particular points that need to be kept in mind while preparing the CV, both the plus points as well as the negative points before preparing the CV. If you prepare your CV in such a form, it will definitely help you land with a good particular job that you applied for. Thank you.